Welcome to Detroiters Think Big, a small business podcast presented by Rocket Mortgage. I am your host, Devin O'Reilly, Director of Entrepreneurship at the Detroit Regional Chamber. And with me today is Jason Hall of RiDetroit and various other ventures. Jason is a serial entrepreneur in every sense of the word. Welcome, Jason.
Hey, what's going on, Devin? I love serial entrepreneur.
You've got so much stuff, and it's not even the fact that you've done so many different things, but even at any given time, you've got like 5 different things going on, 5 different hustles that you're working on. So that's amazing. Kudos to that.
Thank you, brother.
So let's jump into it, and before we talk about what you're doing now, let's talk about how you got here, because I think people even if they're not familiar with you so much, they're familiar with some of the stuff you've done earlier on. So walk me through a little bit, kind of, how you made your name and kind of what was your first big venture and how you got here.
Wow. Yeah. I get all existential about that question because I always say, well, it always actually started way before it started. But really in real life, where I think came on people's radar is I'm the co-founder of Slow Roll Detroit, which is arguably one of the world's largest weekly bike rides that happens on Mondays in Detroit. So co-founding that and doing that for 10 years, I think that was the beginning of me getting on people's radar, even though I had done a few things probably before that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and how did that go? I mean, Slow Roll became just such a massive undertaking. That had to be, it was kind of drinking out of a fire hose, I imagine.
You are full of them today, man, because I love that. That's exactly what it felt like.
It's all the entrepreneurial terms that I pick up.
I'm stealing that one, man. But no, it was, man. We started this ride with the intention of really just bringing our core group of friends together. So you're talking about 15 people. We said, we don't see our friends enough. And then there were other bike rides that were sort of happening around Detroit at the time that we just didn't really agree with, that fit what our philosophy was on how we felt about the city of Detroit, which is we lived here, we love the city, and we love bringing people here. And so we started this ride really to get 15 people out. But me being who I am, whenever I see a door open, I have to go through it. And once we crossed the 15 people threshold to 16, I wanted to get 50. And once we got 50, I wanted to get 1,000, and we ended up getting quite more than that. So no, it was an overwhelming undertaking, but one of the best things I've ever experienced in my life.
Awesome. And just what was the biggest number you got? Do you recall largest number for Slow Roll?
1 week we did a ride, and it's funny. We say when lightning strikes, and that for us that means perfect weather, perfect time of year. So this ride, it was like an 80-degree day. We started out and we did it with the parade company. So the big heads came out to ride in this ride. So we knew it was going to be crazy. So we're partnered up with the DPD. Halfway through the ride, they called me and they said, we're turning this ride around. And I said, what's up? Does somebody get hurt? And they said, no, there's 10,000 people here. The front just met the back. The line now is 4.5 miles long. So we have to turn this thing around. I actually convinced him to go, but 10,000 I think was probably our peak on a Monday evening.
Wow, that's unbelievable. So with that, it seems like you decided to almost go back to your roots and really go back to kind of why you started doing this in the first place. And so talk about after Slow Roll, what this venture you've taken on with RiDetroit and some of the other stuff you're doing.
After starting Slow Roll, we didn't know what it was going to be. So we just rode the wave of what it was. And the wave that I got on happened to be the one of bike advocacy. So I really started to grow within the bicycling community. When we started Slow Roll, it was we just rode bikes and we just wanted to ride with people. We didn't know about bike lanes and things of that nature. And we didn't care. But through the evolution of the process, I started to I evolve, and through that evolution, I started to feel that the large ride served a purpose, but there was a definite place for the smaller ride. And so I decided to leave Slow Roll and start RiDetroit, which is a smaller tour company. It's based around the intimate experience, around being able to ask questions and actually have conversation when you're on the ride, because we started to lose that a bit when you were on slow roll. When you have 10,000 people, my experience was different than other people's. They'd say, "Well, how was your ride?" And I'd say it was terrible, because for me, I'm worried about 10,000 people getting out and getting back safe. So Ride Detroit, it is once again a smaller opportunity to connect on a different level and have the conversations. And let's keep it real, it's an opportunity for me to connect revenue to something that we had really never connected revenue off of, with Slow Roll being a nonprofit.
Absolutely, yeah. So talk a little bit more about Ride Detroit. How big are the groups, and how do you decide, the routes and where to take people?
So what we do at Ride Detroit is we have a couple of tours that are sort of pre-made. I don't do an architecture tour per se, because there's other bike groups that do architecture tours. So I try to stray away from that, and I sort of play on the strengths that I obtained doing slow roll. Doing the routes for 10 years for slow roll gives me access to a lot of places. And so that's that I sort of base those. So I do neighborhoods, because a lot of people want to see the great neighborhoods and a lot of the new development that's happening around Detroit. But then we also do custom tours, and I think that's where our real strength lies. Is that I really can talk to the client and say, hey, what do you want to do and what do you want to see in Detroit? And the fact that we do them on e-bikes, which is different than a standard bike, gives us the opportunity to go a lot further, a lot faster. So our tours are really based around more so the experience than the actual distance and what's going down. So I think that's what makes us a little bit different than most. Our tours usually max out around 25, even though we do have the ability to sometimes go a little bit larger. But I feel like 25 is sort of that sweet spot where I can move within the group and we can all talk and once again have that conversation.
Very cool. So yeah, you mentioned something that well, I want to dig into a little bit more, because you talked about evolving in yourself and the type of business, but you also evolved in the product itself. And so you've got this whole e-bikes thing, which I think is pretty awesome. So talk about kind of how you got into the e-bikes thing and how that makes these tours even more enjoyable for the riders.
Yeah, most definitely. So I went to Minneapolis a couple years ago, and Minneapolis is one of the bike meccas of the United States. And when I got there, they had this incredible bicycle infrastructure, kind of like our DeQuinder Cup, but actually a lot longer. So when I was out there, I was going to a lot of bike shops, and I happened to see an e-bike in the corner. And I asked, what is this thing? And once they explained to me that it wasn't a moped that gets on and does the work for you, it assists you, it piqued my interest. So when I came home, I called a friend of mine, Michael Reuter, who owns American Cycle and Fitness in Royal Oak, and I said, hey man, what is this e-bike thing? And he said, it's the future. People here just aren't onto it. And so he loaned me he actually made me take a bike. I was insulted that he wanted me to take one, because I rode my bike at the time like 40 miles a day. And so he said, I want you to take one for the weekend. And I said, what, am I fat? What do you think, I'm overweight? Do you think I need this? And he said, no, man, I want you to experience this bike. And, the first thing I experienced is on an 85-degree day, I rode to work. And anybody knows, if you ride to work on a bike on an 85-degree day, when you get to work, you're sweaty, you've got to change your clothes. When I got there, immediately I was dry and I was 15 minutes early. And I'm like, whoa, okay, well, what is this all about? And over the weekend, it really just won me. The experience, when you're riding an e-bike, it's very easy to forget what you're doing. And I don't mean forget what you're doing, but if I go on a 20-mile bike ride, when I'm on that on a standard bike, the majority of the time I'm on the bike, I'm thinking, it's hot outside. When are we going to get back? This is long. An e-bike erases all of that, because any given time, all I have to do is hit a button and pick my level of assistance, and the bike can assist me to get to where I want to go. So if I'm tired that day and there's a big hill in front of me, I can just hit the assist and I can get up that hill. Then I can turn it off if I want or keep going. And so it dawned on me that this was the future in the United States. And then once again, I was talking to Michael Reuter, who's really, not to big up him, he's going to love hearing this, but he's always had his finger really on the pulse of the future. he said, let's talk about what this looks like for Detroit and how we could integrate this into Detroit. And so I was leaving Slow Roll, looking to start a tour company. He was looking to launch an e-bike store in Detroit. What better partnership than to, let's say, hey, let's do rentals. So now we do rentals and tours out of the e-bike store, the only one in Detroit. And that just gives us the ability, once again, to go further, faster on an e-bike. And trust me, when you get out on a bike, even if you're skeptical, the minute you get out, you're going to say, I get it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's amazing. And like you said, Jason, it opens up, where you can go, how far you can go. It totally expands the map for you as a rider. And then it also, it allows you to turn it on and off. And so, like you said, for commuting to work, it's a great option because, you're not sweaty. You don't need to shower when you get there. And you can still use the exercise, and not use the e-assist on your way home or something. So it's a great option. And you mentioned, let's talk about that. You and your partner, Michael, opened a Electric Avenue Bikes, I believe it's called, on Woodward and MLK.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, when we were starting to look at where we could open a store, Midtown New Center just seemed like the perfect spot. We could get in early, and sort of stake our claim in an area that's still building. So yeah, we decided to open on Woodward and Martin Luther King in New Center, downtown. Actually, technically probably still Midtown, because it was important for me as a Detroiter. Growing up here as a kid, you say, I want to make my mark, all the time. You're like, I want to be remembered. I want to do historical things. And opening the first e-bike only store in Trek's roster in the world in Detroit had this weird sort of thing to me. The Motor City, we're getting ahead of it and we're opening a motor bike store in Detroit. So it just made sense that this should be our home. And we love right down the corner, man, right across from the Whole Foods. So, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's easy to find if you're down there. So for those people who haven't been into an e-bike store, what am I going to find when I go in there? Are you offering just, can I buy the bikes? Can I rent the bikes? Do you have all sorts of accessories and bells and whistles for them?
Yep. So we're a full service bike shop in the sense that we will fix any bike. Okay, so any bike if you've got a flat tire, bring it on in. But when you come into our store is a lot different than any other bike shop. Usually when you walk into a bike shop, you're going to see hundreds of bikes all over the place, all the different styles, all the different colors. We went a different direction with our store in the sense that we're more of a boutique store. So when you come here, you're going to see 25 bikes on the store, maybe. And we're going to sit down and talk you through the experience. And so we sell bikes and we do rentals. So you can rent an e-bike. So if you want to take it out for the afternoon, and have that experience, once again, before you purchase the bike, go for it. And then this is our home for RiDetroit, and this is where we do our tours out of as well. So this is really the home for all that is e-bikes in the city of Detroit when you come down here. So when you walk in the door, you're going to get a very personalized experience with a smaller shop, and you're not going to get bombarded by all this stuff that doesn't make a lot of sense to you.
Got it. Very nice. And you'll have people who really, really know their stuff when it comes to bikes and e-bikes, which is great. So I want to touch on something that we do with every one of these podcasts, because it's really the cloud hanging over everything, and that's COVID. And in the last year, small businesses have had it just really, really tough, and every small business has either been forced to close at some point, but then also some have adapted. And so it sounds like you're still have been able to operate or are still operating. So talk a little bit about how COVID impacted your business, and then kind of how you've pivoted some things related to that.
Yeah, that's a great question. First and foremost, the most important thing was, how do we stay safe? How do we limit the amount of people that come through the door? We got lucky, and I say that in a weird sense. When the governor came out at the beginning of all this and said, hey, it's safe to go outside and it's safe to ride a bike, we went through a massive boom. I mean, really all bike shops. I mean, anybody who knows or anybody was trying to buy a bike really from March up until even maybe now, there was a bike shortage because of that. So we were lucky enough to be a part of that first sort of wave of things. And then we pivoted in the sense that once we sold out of standard bikes, e-bikes became sort of the only thing you could get. And then we went into, let's look at the future once again, and how do we come out of this pandemic? So that's when e-bikes became even more relevant. But we just really paid attention to what the governor said was the right thing to do. And we are a smaller shop, so once again, we were lucky in the sense that we didn't have to do a lot of limiting. But our other stores definitely went through a large culture shock, in the sense that we're a business where test riding a bike is part of it. You can't really buy a bike without sitting on it and touching it. And so we had to really learn how to adapt to that business model of, let's accommodate the customer with being safe, let's get them on the bike, but give them the mechanism that if the bike doesn't fit, they can bring it back. Let's get everything sterile. It's been really quite a thing for us. But we've adapted quite well. And the community around us, we have had very little pushback on masks and temperatures and things of that nature. So it's been a challenge, but we're lucky in that sense that because we provide one of those essential services, which is people need to get to work, and if they don't have a car, most people need a bike. They need service on that bike and things of that nature. So we're lucky to be part of the essential network that keeps America moving. So that's been the challenge for us, is just stay safe, stay sterilized, and make sure that the customer is well taken care of.
Absolutely. And are the tours that you do, are those seasonal, or do you run those year round?
So we do e-bike tours that are seasonal, but I also do walking tours. I do walking tours. I'm the official tour guide for Murals in the Market in Eastern Market. And so we can walk all year round on those tours. And those are the tours that I actually do the bulk. Before COVID, I did the majority of my schools and things of that nature, because I donate tours to schools. So we do walking tours of Murals in the Market, and that keeps us busy, but we shut down the e-bikes once it gets snowy and cold and salty, and then we kick it back up in the spring.
Gotcha. So if you follow Jason on social media, which if you don't, you should, you've noticed that he's been in some really cool places recently, places that most people don't get a chance to see. So I've seen you underneath the Scott Fountain on Belle Isle. I've seen you in the bowels of the Masonic Temple. Tell me about this new venture for you and what you have cooking.
We're just adventurous guys, like my friends and I. And so like hanging out in Detroit, we don't look at the city the same way people do. We always look and we go, what's underneath there? I wonder what's on, I'm that guy who's always like, I wonder what's on top. And so, in today's world of the internet, they've created this avenue for people who have a minor amount of skill to get out there and do things that they, and document those things that they want to do. So we're lucky enough, I'm part of a group with the Detroit Local and some other friends of mine, Take 5, to get out. And so we just dig and we try to go into the places that people might have seen or might not have seen, but to show those places in a different way. And to get to go underneath the Scott Fountain, which I didn't even know had it underneath, it makes sense because pipes have to go somewhere, was amazing. And so that's what we really do. And I can't wait to get this out. We're in the process of editing right now, because you go into these places and you say, okay, we're going to do the Masonic Temple. When you get there, it's got 1,000 rooms. How do you put 1,000 rooms into a 20-minute interview? We ended up spending 4 hours in the Masonic Temple, and we probably saw 20 rooms out of 1,000. Think about that. So that's what we do these days. We're sort of joking around with the name Hidden Detroit. I have another thing, tourist in my own state, because with my e-bike over the summer, I put almost 2,000 miles in seeing the state of Michigan and all the cool trails. So I'm just an adventure person, and it all started with us really wanting to get into the salt mines. And so we're still trying to get into the salt mines to see that crazy network. But in the meantime, we're going to keep showing places in a different way every single time. I challenge every place that I go to. The first thing I say is, look, man, take me somewhere that no one's ever been. Okay. If you can't take me somewhere in this building no one's ever been, I really am not interested in being here. Everybody's seen the Jack White Theater, as beautiful it is as it is, but I need to see some other stuff in that place.
That's awesome. And, if I hope people start Googling after this, after listening to this, because the salt mines are amazing. We talked about it a little bit beforehand. I have some, secondhand knowledge or whatever growing up in Dearborn and Detroit, that this a massive network of salt mines that runs underneath the city. It's really, we don't have time to get into it now, but Google it, it's some really interesting stuff going on beneath the city,
Right.
literally.
I mean, the salt, they still take the salt from there. You know what I mean? It's still active. We just can't see it. They used to do tours, but now I need a tour. You hear me? I need a tour, people.
For sure. So what can you say any more locations that you're looking to check out or that you have on your radar to check out for this?
Yeah. So my next thing on my radar is Irish Hills. If you've ever heard of Irish Hills, it's the
I have.
abandoned dinosaur theme park, and there's some other crazy stuff going on in Irish Hills that I'd like to check out. So that's in the future. I think John King Books is up there. We're trying to do that one next. A lot of people know about John King, but I don't think they really have seen the way I want to see it. And then I want to go to do an old school seance, man. In the 80s, like it seemed like every sitcom was like, hey, we're gonna do a seance. Do they even do them anymore? So I'm interested in maybe going down that road a little bit.
Wow, really cool stuff. It just sounds like the making of like a Travel Channel show. You're like the Detroit's Anthony Bourdain over here.
I'm trying, man. I'm trying.
Well, so let's call that out. If people are listening and have some interesting ideas of places you can check out, how can they reach out to you?
So first and foremost, you can follow me on Instagram. That's what I'm pushing these days. I'm the Jason of all trades. So please go there and add me on Instagram. Everything that I'm doing lately, which is a ton of media, all that stuff is on my YouTube page now. So you can go there, RiDetroit, RiDetroit. And then you can drop me a line at jhall@acfstores.net if you want to email me some ideas. Get a hold of me. I love to collaborate with other people. I think part of the adventure is getting to know other humans. It's cool that we go to other places and we look at architecture and things, but I want to know other people all over the world. So that's part of this.
Absolutely. So I don't even know if we got to talk about everything you're doing. Is there anything else you have going on or some stuff that you're looking ahead to in 2021?
You know what? Quickly, I'm really proud of a program that I'm launching in partnership with the Downtown Boxing Gym and American Cycle and Fitness, that we're trying to get training in the bicycle industry to people of color. We all know that there's a lot of industries that exist out there that don't have brown people and people of color in those infrastructures. So I'm working with both of those groups to get training to people in the city of Detroit, not only in bike building, but bike sales, bike marketing, because I just need to see people that look like me in this industry. So I'm very proud of that. That's starting in January. So that's probably the thing that I'm most proud of these days is that. I mean, all the other stuff is awesome and it's fun and it's showcasing, but helping people get into situations that can potentially better their lives is why I'm here. That's why we do what we do.
Absolutely, and that's a fantastic endeavor, and we'll definitely follow that as well. Jason, I love to say it this way, but we never know where we're going to see you next. But and I never know where I'm going to see you next. Although most of the time it's on Woodward Avenue, which we both tend to be walking and riding on pretty often. So can't wait to see you next. Can't wait to see where you'll explore next, and we will definitely be following your journey.
Devin, man, thank you. You've always been a supporter. I love what the chamber does, man, and I love everything it's done for me, man. I can't thank you enough, brother. Anytime you need me, you shoot me a call, and let's ride some e-bikes soon.
Sounds good. I will get down there and get on an e-bike as soon as I'm able. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, brother. Later.